सेक्रेड गेम्स बहुत ही लोकप्रिय रहा है, नेटफ्लिक्स की सीरीज़ है और इसका अब दूसरा पार्ट आने वाला है, सेक्रेड गेम्स पार्ट 2। और हमारे साथ में है सैफ अली खान, जिन्होंने बहुत ही यादगार किरदार निभाया था सरताज सिंह का। अब आप आज बात करेंगे सेक्रेड गेम्स 2 के बारे में और सरताज सिंह के बारे में भी। बहुत बहुत स्वागत आपका बॉलीवुड हंगामा पे।
थैंक यू फरीदून।
आपकी फिल्मोग्राफी में सरताज सिंह कितना इम्पोर्टेंट है?
बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट है। आई थिंक वन ऑफ द बेस्ट रोल्स जो मैंने करने का मौका मिला। पहली बार मैंने एक किरदार निभाया जो फॉर सो लॉन्ग, इतनी देर के लिए, कुछ 2 साल और 2 सीजन्स और 16 घंटे, एक बहुत ही लंबी पिक्चर। सो आई गॉट टू नो दैट कैरेक्टर बेटर देन आई थिंक एनी अदर कैरेक्टर आई प्लेड। सो इट्स इम्पॉर्टेंट पार्ट ऑफ माई लाइफ। जो आखिरी दिन जब मैंने शूटिंग की तो मुझे लगा, थोड़ा बुरा भी लगा, अजीब लगा कि ये आखिरी बार मैं ये पगड़ी पहन रहा हूँ। Maybe I shouldn't say it's the last time. Who knows? Maybe there'll be another time.
ये पहली एक सीरीज़ थी जो कि हिंदुस्तान में आई और इतना ज़्यादा पॉपुलर हो गया, इतना ज़्यादा मकबूल हो गया। आई थिंक हर किसी ने देखा है, बिकॉज ये एक ऐसे टाइम पर भी आया जब डेटा इंडिया में बहुत ही ज़्यादा कॉस्ट उसका बहुत ही कम हो गया था, एंड एवरीवन कैन अफोर्ड मोबाइल एंड एवरीवन इज़ हैविंग मोबाइल फ़ोन राइट नाउ एज वेल। And it has been watched like amazingly, not merely in India but all across the world. आपने कभी भी anticipate किया था कि इस तरीके का इसका reach हो सकता है?
I think so. I think that was the idea. क्योंकि I mean the entertainment world has changed. I mean there are different platforms now, and I think जो बोलते हैं artists should be platform agnostic. उसका मतलब ये है कि सोचना नहीं चाहिए कि ये मैं फिल्म एक्टर हूँ तो मैं सिर्फ फिल्मों में काम करता हूँ और नेटफ्लिक्स एक अलग है और टीवी अलग है और प्लेज अलग हैं। आई थिंक यू जस्ट, जहाँ तक मेरी सोच है, I'd like to do anything entertaining, anything good. And there's a different kind of communication with, like a Netflix show. There's so much, like you say, everybody has a phone. There's a personal interaction with the fan, where people can, put on headphones and intensely watch something. So that's an important thing I feel for an actor today to, and it's got tremendous reach. So I would love to have a career where, I'm a scary villain in one movie, I'm a lovely hero in one movie, I have a Netflix show where I play a lovely character. So that spectrum is important. But sorry, to answer your question, we were hoping, because a lot of people have digital devices in India, and the potential market is very big. And as you say, data has become less expensive to watch and more accessible. It's a great medium to be on.
All of us have known that you are someone who's very different compared to a lot of other actors that we have, because you have this liking for reading. Even the sort of things that you like to read is something which is very, very different and very, very deep. And even in terms of the movies that you've always liked, you've spoken about them many a times on various platforms. Now you're actually getting a platform to be a part of it, and it is a popular medium.
I love watching, that medium also. I love watching shows after work. It's my unwinding thing. So this was also one reason why I was attracted to it, because I realized how important it is.
And then it has become a very popular medium.
Yeah.
It has reached out to a lot of people. It is something which is intelligent.
Ji.
So your character is, I think it just dabbles a lot in psychological space. It's just battling with this.
One of the nicest things about doing the show was working with these really bright people, like, the writing team. So Neeraj Gehwan, Vikram, Anurag. Yeah, part 2. Neeraj directed part 2, and they're trying to be, international. They're trying to be as clever as possible. So the atmosphere on the set is how to be the best you can be. Of course, in all films, people are trying to be the best they can be, but sometimes you're worried, is this the right pitch, But here, it's a nice feeling that the writing is clever. Exactly. So that's a nice feeling. It's a creative atmosphere. So that's the healthiest thing and the most lovely thing in the world, where you go to the set and you're like, okay, everyone's trying their best to do something special, because you'll be compared to international work immediately. Right. So that's a very special atmosphere. I really like that.
And How's your character progressing from season 1 to season?
You know, मुझे पहली सीजन में लगा था कि इस शो का नाम Sacred Games क्यों है, क्योंकि I didn't understand the connection, but now I get it. So in the second season, all the questions that are raised in the first season are answered, and there's a character development. It goes back into his past, his relationship with his father, and ex-wife, and all these things that are touched on in the first. That's the fun of one of these shows. You get into in-depth exploration of characters.
Did you find it interesting that this entire concept of heroism has been looked upon in a very different light when you take Sartaj Singh into account?
Yeah, at one point, I think Vikram Motwane and I had a bit of an argument because in Mud Island, I remember we were shooting at night. I said, yeah, this guy keeps getting slapped. Right. Every time Sartaj pulls out his gun and says, okay, freeze, I'm a cop, somebody slaps him and says, nobody's taking him seriously as a hero. And maybe being used to commercial cinema, I thought there's something wrong with that. I said, is it okay? He said, no, give it time, he's going to develop. So I think second season he's a bit more heroic. But yeah, that was the interesting thing. That I think that's what people liked also, that it made it real, that gangsters are, beating him up. There's a very vulnerable side to the guy. Right. And he starts off at a low, and then becomes a hero much later. But so there was a time when I was a little frustrated personally also, and worried that, because it's nice to, go to work, and if you're used to performing things that are dramatic on a high, this is the first time I think that I was playing a role where, he's a bit of a loser. But I enjoyed it.
Yet he emerges as a hero by the end of the season 1, in his own way.
And obviously, maybe I've also I picked up some bad habits. Because obviously, the lower you start, it's more interesting to see the guy take that chance. He gets a chance from the Gaitonde character, he gives him a chance for some reason, which is also explained in the second episode. Why him? And he gets a chance and he takes it, and he loses some weight also. Yeah, starts looking cool.
In part 1, some of the dialogues became really famous. And did you have apprehensions that maybe your character is not having those punchy dialogues, and that's something that the memes are being made on?
No, in fact, when I read the script, I did say, I had a thought about it, because I thought, the other guy is really colorful. But then I thought, no, I had a pretty strong, I just wanted to be part of it. I thought it was really clever, and I loved my role. And the Sartaj character is the moral center of the thing. It can't work without him. And somewhere, the other character is the fun and the kind of, more flamboyant and entertaining. So both of them have to go together. Right. And Sartaj's development happens a bit later, but I think there's a very wide arc, and there are big changes in what he goes through. So it's also a very fascinating role. I think it's just a little more exciting later on, even though exploring his weaknesses and his problems was also very interesting. I think it's a lovely part, and so many people have told me that, I mean, I don't want to say this, but they were like, yeah, okay, we've seen Anurag in Gangsters before, but this was interesting to see you as a Sardar cop who's a bit of a loser. It's very interesting, and it's nice, and he's a nice guy.
Performances in your career?
I think so. I think so. Yeah.
Okay, you just spoke about the wide arc portion. I'm sure. Okay, Punjabi. I think you've.
Yeah, I mean, surprisingly, it's kind of like widely spoken in the industry, so I've been familiar with it. Right. It's so much part of India, right. North India. Right. But I have not actually spoken it before. So I was up till quite late and on the treadmill practicing my Punjabi.
All right, so you said about the wide arc part of it. Yeah. a medium like this gives you a lot of scope in terms of developing a character. You have to say whatever you have to say in a movie in 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Too many I think forces which are there. Just ye bhi dal do, ye gana hona chahiye. This should be there. Just pep it up and how the audience will react. But here you have that liberty to just have that.
इत्मीनान से बताने वाली कहानी कहते हैं ना, कुछ ऐसी कहानियाँ होती हैं कि दो ढाई घंटे में नहीं बता सकते. That's the where of course, and that's where the Netflix show comes into its own, really developing a kind of a saga. That book is quite thick. Yeah, it's a long book, so it's a bit of a saga in itself. But ideally, shows like on the Mughal Empire or something, on a dynasty of some sort,
Yeah, there's subtext. They're political subtext as well.
No, I'm saying that, yeah, there's many stories that are waiting to be told, that are long stories with details, which you probably can't make a movie. So that is one thing that the Netflix show gives us opportunities to do, tell these amazing stories. See, the mixture of confidence, money, and well, basically confidence and money in a field gives you art. In an artistic field, when you have confidence and good money is coming into it, and there's people are pushing boundaries every day. Like some of the material that Netflix is coming out with is cutting edge.
Definitely.
For performances from Indian actors and our technicians. So it's kind of pushing boundaries and getting better and better. And it's a really, really fascinating place to be.
Definitely. Now, in movies, many a times there are restrictions that if you want to say something, maybe in terms of political overtones, if it is having any political overtones, or maybe cultural at times, there are too many doubts which are there in the minds of filmmakers, especially maybe in recent times. But we had those political overtones in Sacred Games Part 1.
Yeah.
That was a subtext in many ways. And it was said it in a as brazen manner as possible. Someone who's very aware of what is happening all around you, maybe in India as well as world affairs. Do you find that interesting? Do you find that fascinating?
Yeah, but it's also business in the sense that I think Netflix is not interested in being the rebellious voice of. There are some, I don't want to say smaller, but there are some less responsible people and platforms that will probably get raise the censorship issue by being gratuitous ko kya bolte hain, ki just little disturbing violence or sex for the sake of it. Yeah. So that I think that will might become a problem one day.
I think some people approach the Supreme Court.
It'll happen. So, but I think guys like Netflix don't want that. They want to appeal to as many people as possible. So everything that happens is justified, and they're sensible artists at work. So the idea is not like, ooh, we don't have censorship, so we can do something naughty, or we can say this word. That freedom for an actor, that finally I can use some bad language, or I can see half-naked woman while making love. I mean, these are normal things that should happen in films when they suit the moment, and it brings out an honesty, but it shouldn't be used for that.
One character who was along with you was Karthikar, and I think he was a hugely loved character, and there are a lot of people who are just requesting that will he be back. And in fact, I was reading that maybe there is some meme or something that maybe they can be like an Avenger sort of situation, and if we just go back in time and.
I mean, that's you, but they're not wrong, And I know he's a lovely character. He's a great guy, fantastic actor, and brought so much joy. And this is quite a dark kind of show, but he's like a bright thing in it. Energy. We will see him because we go back in time.
Okay, so
see, he'll be around, and he'll be in Sartaj's thoughts, and you'll feel his presence. He's an important part of the show. There's a very strong connection between the second and the first is just a continuation, So
that's wonderful.
Yeah, so he's not resurrected, but he's on screen resurrected because you'll see him again.
Okay. One very interesting thing is, say, if you're talking about Karthikar, so his backstory, his family.
Yes.
and what he's doing. And this fact that you have the time, you can actually delve into the backstory of various characters. That's pretty interesting. I'm sure that you must be enjoying that as well. Even your backstory, the way your mother and your father.
You know, it's strange, like you say, you really get to know the character, having played him for so long. It's something that you should apply, obviously, to all roles, but it's great. I mean, and Kartika's family, even the way it's written in the book, and we don't get to see that, at least, I don't think in regular kind of movies. You know, so different kinds of people, different lifestyles, like, you know, trying to make love when your children are sleeping next to you, kind of thing. Beautiful kind of scenes, and getting interrupted constantly by what do they call my character? Kind of a safe sex or something, you know, because every time he tries it, Sartaj calls him, I think. Says, "Where are you? Come here."
All right. Finally, if you can please tell us something about the casting, because I think the casting was simply fascinating for this show.
You know,
When you, as a movie lover, or like a lover of arts per se,
things have changed pretty fast, you know, in the last 10 and 15 years. And there's so many wonderful actors out there that earlier in films, you know, when you see characters in movies, they were little limited. I mean, you see a friend or a, you know, mom or an aunt or some, you know, it's family members and a little restricted. Here, suddenly there's so many actors and casting directors really coming into their own. I think Sacred Games is amazingly cast, and working with these guys has changed my acting style over the years, you know. So I really feel well equipped today. I feel I'm completely, I live, like you say, sometimes in my own world. I don't get out that much. So that can isolate you, but I don't feel I'm in a bubble. I feel, at least professionally, work-wise, I know exactly what's happening. I'm very current with the acting style and the acting. So that's a good...
You look very current.
But that is the stylist. In fact, it's not current, it's 70s.
Yeah.
It's retro. I think that's the vibe for the interviews, because our show will flash back to that, I think.
So briefly, if you can please tell us something about Nawazuddin Siddiqui, Pankaj Tripathi, Kalki, Ranveer Shuri. I think they're the guy who's playing Bunty, I think, is very...
Yes, you know, it's a lovely cast, yeah, and they're great.
What about Nawaz?
Nawaz is, you know, I don't get to see him much, though. I saw him once, he shot himself immediately, and then after that we have separate tracks. And he had a puffy face and he couldn't talk because they'd put prosthetics on him to age him. And he said, I don't know what, none of us knew what was going to happen, because that was the first day's shoot. And then I think everything exploded for both of us. He's a powerhouse. I learned from watching him. He's such a classy actor, the way he just stands there sometimes, his eyes drawn to him. So to get the chance to, you know, work with him, compete with him for energy or whatever is you can only learn from that. It's fantastic. Pankaj is super, I mean, and I loved him in Mirzapur. I loved that show. So, you know, this is all blowing up. Nobody knows. Someone was interviewing me and they were like, you know, you're a screen actor. And so I said, oh, what are these boxes that we're putting people into? Right. There's just talent and you can see it on different platforms now. So he's great. He's really, really watchable. And he's funny as well. But so he's the sacred in the Sacred Games.
Looks very interesting. I think
he's the sacred element.
His characterization looks very interesting. Finally, do you find it interesting that, say, your track is being directed by, from what I understand, Anurag Kashyap?
No, Neeraj Ghewan.
Neeraj Ghewan. And
Anurag's directing.
And
The Mafia Boys.
Yeah, so someone else is directing Nawazuddin Siddiqui. Do you find that interesting?
It is interesting. It's fascinating. I've, in fact, had an evening with Anurag Kashyap after a very long time. And we talked about it, and I thanked him for making us look good. So it's like two parts, you know, like one without the other doesn't really work. So they're different worlds, and it's fascinating. But there's, yeah, it was an interesting experiment, you know, to get two directors to direct two tracks, and it works extremely well. I was really happy I worked with Neeraj, though. He's like a really easygoing director, but very, very passionate and loves, you know, international cinema, and he's just a really sensitive guy, and he's brought some real magic to this season.
The editor must be having a tough time just putting everything together.
I don't know. I think they shoot pretty tight. Yeah, I mean, they know exactly the script. It's so well written, but so many interesting scenarios. You know, there's some drama there, and you can just go to places where you'd be too nervous to go in a movie.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, so that's quite exciting to go to work and say, okay, today what's happening? Oh, this scene. Wow. So that's always nice.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, I hope so.
That's all we have from Bollywood Hungama. Keep on watching.